Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome back to Sci-Fi Saturday. And today we're looking at 12 Monkeys. And you know that meme with Jackie Chan where he's going like this? That's how I feel after watching this. So much that I had to watch a couple reviews to try to get to understanding as to what the hell I actually watched. So I'll admit, and you might probably be surprised to hear this. This is my first encounter with a Terry Gilliam film. I couldn't remember his name. I'm gonna say Tony Gilliam, a Terry Gilliam film. Haven't seen any of his movies before. Apparently, he has weird ones like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I heard that's a weird one. Never seen any of his films before till now. Uh, and the film stars Bruce Willis, who plays James Cole, who lives in a, get this, you'll never guess, post-apocalyptic future. And he is sent back in time because a deadly virus is going to attack the world in 1997, and he's sent back in time not to prevent it, but to get a sample so that they can create a cure in the future. Now, that to me makes a lot of sense because here's the situation. If he was to go back and stop it from being, it's the same thing I said with Looper, that whole paradox effect, right? The paradox of loop, paradox effect. If he goes back and stops the virus from being unleashed, he creates a paradox wherein the future that he came from no longer exists, so he can't be sent back to prevent it, right? That's sort of thrown out the window at the end of the movie. It does make sense. He just needs to get a sample so to bring it back to the future and they can create a cure. Very simple premise. In Terry Gilliam's hand, though, we get a very confusing kerfuffle of whatever the fuck this is. I was very confused. He's like, we're going to send you back to 1996 so that you can get us a sample. Okay. So he's immediately sent to 1990 to meet me thrown in a nut house, where he meets Brad Pitt. And look, I don't understand this at all. Apparently people praised Brad Pitt's performance. Apparently Terry Gilliam took away Brad Pitt's cigarettes to make him seem more unhinged. And yeah, I've been around people who are addicted to cigarettes and haven't had them in a while. They go a little nuts when they need the nicotine. My mom once tried to quit several times, and it's that third day that gets you. But even if you go past the third day, it's not guaranteed you're never gonna smoke again. My mom still, but yeah, it gets you're unhinged. My mom's first husband was a son of a bitch, but when he first tried, he was the one who stayed the longest without smoking. But when he first went, it was so bad that my mom yelled at him, "For God's sake, have a fucking cigarette!" He said, "I'm not gonna fucking do it." He hated the guy, but I understand the frustration. So I understand Brad Pitt's frustration, especially since he sucks down those things like they're straws. He's a chain smoker, that's what it is. So even at this point in his career, which, was a banger, he just had like 3 hits. What was it? 7, Legends of the Fall, and there was one other one that all came out. So he was big. His performance is being praised here. And he even got an Oscar nod for this. An Oscar nom, I should say. And he's the most annoying fucking thing in the damn movie. I was like, what? I'm sitting here going, like the first half hour he's in this mental institution, and I'm sitting here going, what is the point of this? Why is he in here? Only thing that really happens is he meets Madeline Stowe's character, Dr. Riley. Dr. Rayleigh. And we find out later that he actually implants the idea of the 12 monkeys in Brad Pitt's head. So the people in the future think that the army of the 12 monkeys is responsible for unleashing this virus. Spoiler alert, they're not, which kind of makes the title of this movie not make sense in hindsight of watching this movie, but, we're actually introduced to the guy who's behind it early on in a throwaway scene where he meets Dr. Rayleigh in 1996, where she's talking about apocalypticism, or whatever you call it, and end of the world type situations. So it kind of, goes in there. But again, she wouldn't be talking about that if she didn't meet Cole in the mental institution. He's talking about all this stuff, like he's trying to tell her what's going on. He tries to tell these people he's got to call this number, but it's some black lady and her family. Her kid's trying to eat out of the dog dish, and and he's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to call in 1996. The line isn't open yet," and I'm just like, "What?" Okay, I guess it makes sense. No, I don't know. And then he gets taken back to his cell, where he then wakes up in the future. And they said they're going to send him back. But then he gets sent back to World War I with his friend Jose. And he gets shot in the leg. All this so that later it's proof that he's a time traveler, because he then gets sent to 1996 like he's supposed to. In my opinion, I understand what they're trying to do. I understand why he has to go to the mental institution so he can meet Brad Pitt and give him the idea for the 12 monkeys thing. Sure. It's a paradoxical loop now, because he's also having these visions of a blonde woman over some dead man's corpse. Someone just got killed in an airport. He keeps saying it over and over again, and he not sure what to make. He thinks it's a dream. And so, I know I'm sorry. So he's also trying to piece together what that means. In my opinion, if you want it straight from him in the future being sent back, and he's just sent back and he meets her here. And I think maybe it would be more straightforward than you would think, but it's not. And you know why it's not? Because Terry Gilliam got his way. See, he did a movie for Universal called Brazil. And Universal interfered, because studios like to fucking do that, and they didn't like his ending, so they shot a new ending. They fucked with his ending here too, but not too much that it deviated from his ending. They also came up with the idea to put a text scroll at the beginning of the film to kind of try to explain things. But my eyesight's so shot, I couldn't even read it. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Like, what? I'm supposed to read that? It's in green lettering, first of all. Which, if it was white, I'd be able to read a little bit better. I'm just like, I was like that. What? My eyesight is so bad anyway. I need new glasses, but like a stronger prescription or something. It's like a sort of read. Killjoy 3 movie review. Some of it's hard to. Some of it's bound to stick. Dagger Shadow. I'm trying to read it. Anyway. This is the point where I think the movie should have started. But we have to retroactively do all this stuff to set up things. So he finds Dr. Rayleigh in her car, takes her hostage. Keeps trying to explain it to her. And they also try to explain that the more and more he keeps going back and forth, the more his mind gets messed up. He looks more erratic. In my opinion, you didn't need that. There's also a question of, is this real? Or is it just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, to escape from reality. Is it real or is it Memorex? Is it happened in his head? Is he messed up? He keeps saying, like, he's in the future, he's a security guard. Later at the airport, he sees the same security guard. When he is brought in to the place to be sent back to the past, he's brought in by a white guard and a black guard. And then when when he's taken in mental institution, there's a white guard and a black guard. So is it in his head? Is it really happening? But the one point where I think it is in his head is that she's talking about World War One and how there was a soldier who claimed he was from the future. And I'm like, okay, it's all real. And there's no question. And it's when she finds a picture of Cole trying to save Jose, then it's confirmed that it's real. But, yeah. So like I said, Terry Gilliam, I didn't finish what I was talking about. He said, so he had problems with Universal during doing Brazil. So he said he wasn't going to work with them again. Well, then he's going, I'm going to do 12 Monkeys. Who's producing it? Universal. So he said he'd do it if he got final cut of his film. Full say in that. And they said, yeah, but you're not going to have that big of a budget, and you can't have the actors you want. He wanted Jeff Bridges and Nick Nolte to portray Brad Pitt's character. So Jeff Bridges was supposed to play Brad Pitt's character, and I think he would have done I think he would have been a better choice. He would have been as erratic. And Nick Nolte was supposed to be James Cole. Either way. Universal said, no, you have to use these stars. So you have to have Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt in the movie. But he gets final cut, all that. Except Universal did kind of put something at the end, and it's also, they say it's supposed to be a little more like confirming, but it's still kind of confusing because there could be two different meanings of it. We'll get to it. So it's a very confusing film, but I haven't laid that out for you. It's a very confusing film where you're trying to figure out what's going on. Is it real? Is it not? Whatever. It doesn't help that they keep shoving him from back and forth to the future, and when they're in the future, like he's acts like he's gone nuts. He thinks that everything's not real, and everyone's like, "What do you mean it's not real? We are here." And then there's music, and I'm just like, not if you didn't know he was in Monty Python, you do now, because it's very, something to do. Then it kind of switches, because once he goes back, he now believes he is nuts, and she believes him completely, right? So he goes to this dinner at one point. This is before that happened. But anyway, he goes to this dinner thing at one point and finds Brad Pitt and thinks, that he's behind the 12 Monkeys. Is that what 12 Monkeys? 12 Monkeys, monkey, whatever. And he's still nuts, but he's at a mental hospital at Daddy's Money. Christopher Plummer's in this, plays his dad, by the way. Yeah. But they eventually find out that the Army of the 12 Monkeys has nothing to do with the virus. Except for they are actually animal rights activists trying to free all the animals so they don't get tested on. That's what they are. But at the beginning of the film, they have this distorted message of someone contacting them, telling them it's the Army of the 12 Monkeys. And it's later revealed that that's actually Dr. Rayleigh who sent the message. So, yeah, it was all meant to happen this way, I guess. And at this point, they're like, okay, fuck it, we're done. They're on the run from the police because the police are trying to arrest them because he kidnapped her and now she's complicit, so they're both fugitives, I guess. And they head out in the movie theater watching one Hitchcock flicks. By the way, Bruce Willis' acting in this is pretty good. Like, you could tell he's this guy who's lived underground for years because he's listening to music for the first time in forever. He's breathing air. He's, all that stuff. And even though he was in the mental institution, he's still, at this point when he's kidnapped her, he's air, and then he's like, music, what's that music? And it's like, I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. Apparently, all he needs is little fats to feel better. But, yeah, and I made the thought of Happy Days. I found my thrill. He's saying something. I thought he was gonna get. Anyway, whoever George Lopez. But yeah. So eventually, they're like, we're done. We're gonna get out of here. They're gonna go to the airport, and they're gonna go to the Florida Keys because he keeps seeing things to go to the Florida Keys, right? And so as soon as they get in, they're all disguised. She's got blonde hair, which makes him recognize her from his dream. And then he's got this wig on with a fake mustache. And they go in and he sees this airport. And he goes, I know this place from my dream. I've seen it in my dream. So something's happening. And then we see the police are there. And then we see that David Morse, who was the scientist from earlier, the apocalyptic guy from earlier, is also there. And he happens to be going to all the same places that are going to have the breakouts. Yep. So, he calls them in the future and he says, I'm done. I'm out. It's not the army of the 12 monkeys, and I'm done. I'm staying here. I'm not going back. As soon as he does, Jose shows up with a gun saying, this is here. It's happening now. You have to kill him. You have to stop it. Or we're going to kill her. And I'm just like, wait, how did we 180 that? How did we flip that on its head? Before it's we have to get the sample. Now it's you have to stop him. Except we've already seen now that because they're going through the thing and they see his in the X-ray machine. So he opens up the thing. There's nothing. He's like, there's nothing in it. Oh, it's in there. You just can't see it. So he's already released it in the airport. It's airborne, which we also find out that James Cole as a kid is also there. So why wasn't he infected? He's there, but he's released it now. It's in the air, so there is no real stopping it. But it's when Dr. Rayleigh realizes that it was David Morse. So she tells him that, and he grabs his gun and goes after him, but the cops shoot him dead, revealing to us the dream. The younger version of Cole was there. He saw the older version of himself die, and what he saw was himself being shot dead. Yeah. And David Morse gets on the plane. Now, there's a shot that goes into the kid's eyes, and that's where the movie was supposed to end, because once he's dead, you wouldn't see anything. Well, Universal said we have to add a scene so that we can try to explain it. To me, it just makes it more fucking confusing. So because of David Morse on the plane, and he's talking to some woman, he sits down, and it's one of the scientists from the future, and she tells him, I'm in insurance. And then it cuts back to young David outside as he's about to leave and into the eye thing. So, yeah. So, what does this ending mean? I took it as these scientists wanted to create the virus in the first place, and they knew that he was the one they had to keep sending back so the virus could be created and this apocalyptic world could happen. Which is another paradoxical loop. But what I've gathered from other people's reviews is that because he called them in the future and told them, they sent her back to get the sample so they can create the cure in the future. So, in a sense, he's completed his mission. So when I watched this, I thought, oh, it was all a setup. He's supposed to release this virus. It was supposed to be released. Never going to stop it. Never nothing. But again, it wasn't really the point to try to stop it, except for that weird part where Jose tells him to stop it. I don't know. I also feel like sending him to 1996 is too late. Like, the virus is about to be released. He just released it into the thing. Like, couldn't you have sent him in 1995, a year before? I know 96, there was no none of that. But 95 would have been a place where they'd be creating a virus. You'd be trying to figure it out. I don't know. It's kind of confusing. But in the end, I think that the added scene is supposed to tell us that he succeeded, that they're going to get the sample and create the cure in the future. That's good for them, but the people are still going to die. Right? I'm just saying. Again, though, if you created the cure and then went back and threw it out there in 1996, when it started, hey, we have the cure we have right here, it's also going to cause a paradox. So I don't know. It's confusing. I'm going to give it a high middle of the road. It's a very confusing film. I like it more than one after I got done watching it. I was like, what is this? But I don't know. There's a lot of unnecessary stuff. But again, it's my first Terry Gilliam film, so it might be in a lot of his movies. Who knows? But it was fine for what it was. I actually don't know what I'm doing next. I haven't decided. It's in the cupboard. Shoot. I haven't decided. So you'll find out next week, and I'll find out tomorrow because I'll probably do the review tomorrow, but it'll be up for you to tell. So, what are your thoughts on 12 Monkeys? I'm also interested in seeing how the TV series handles things. So, don't be surprised if I end up getting that and watching through that as well. So, we shall see. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.